I'm Emmett. I'm just going to come right out. I have no idea what's going on at all.
My fellow master builders, including but not limited to Superman, Wonder Woman, The Mermaid, Green Ninja, 1980-something Space Guy, Michelangelo, and the 2002 NBA All-Stars. We have learned that Lord Business plans to end the world as we know it. There is yet one hope. The special has arisen.
I think I got it, but just in case, tell me the whole thing again. I wasn't listening. I'm freaking out!
Relax, everybody. I'm here.
Batman? Awesome! Could you make one of these in orange?
I only work in black, and sometimes very, very dark gray.
Hey, pal, I hate to tell you this, but I don't think you're supposed to be here.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to report you.
No, wait up!
And what you just saw right there was everyone that thought this movie was going to be absolutely terrible and nothing more than a cheap cash grab, and then made people realize, oh my god, this actually could be pretty amazing. And sure enough, it was that and even more than anyone could ever imagine, myself included. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films of February 7th, 2014. Let me just say right now, there was no movie that on the show that is, or even this year, that pales in comparison to this movie here. The Lego Movie is not only one of the year's biggest achievements, it's one of the greatest movies we've seen in the last 15 years. And it's hard to believe a movie with Legos in it could become the classic that it has become. And really, when you really look into it, there's more than an easy understanding of why that is. But let's dig into the plot of this film. So this is, of course, based off the Lego line of construction toys, and it follows a toy named Emmett, played by Chris Pratt, who's an ordinary Lego minifigure prophesized to save the universe from the tyrannical Lord Business, played by Will Ferrell, as he gains different allies along the way, including Wildstyle, played by Elizabeth Banks, Vitruvius, played by Morgan Freeman, Batman, played by Will Arnett, and many, many more. And really, this is one of the most perfect movies I have ever seen in my life. And, you know, this was kind of the year for Phil Lord and Chris Miller to really branch out and show everybody that these guys are for real. I mean, yes, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was a big success back in 2019. 21 Jump Street was a big success a couple of years prior in 2012. But 2014, you not only had this movie, but you had 22 Jump Street, and it just basically showed that these guys were for real, and these guys are indeed the future of filmmaking, and it has shown that, yeah, they know exactly what they're doing, and they know how to entertain the hell out of you by taking some of the stupidest ideas ever and making it the baddest ass movie you could possibly ever see. If you want to, I don't even know if I said that the right way, but this movie is amazing. There is nothing wrong with this film whatsoever. Everything about this movie is just great. The voice casting, top-notch. Chris Pratt as Emmett, Elizabeth Banks as Wildstar, Morgan Freeman, Vitruvius, Will Arnett. I haven't even talked about Allie Brie as Unikitty, who is one of the most hilariously fun characters I have ever seen. Like, kind of a mix. Imagine if you mixed Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony and Edward from Cowboy Bebop and rolled them into one. That's Unikitty as a whole, and every time she's on screen in this movie, it is absolutely fucking hilarious. Charlie Day is also hilarious too, but it's Charlie Day. But him as Benny, you know, this is a character who cares about one thing and one thing only: spaceships! Like, every time he sees an opportunity to build a spaceship, he has to say that. And just the dialogue that's given to him in this is just so damn funny. Hell, Nick Offerman playing Metalbeard is great. I didn't even realize that was him the first time I saw this movie. It's just like, wow, I mean, it sounds like him, but at the same time, it doesn't, it feels radically different than what we're used to hearing from Nick Offerman. And, you know, Liam Neeson as good cop, bad cop is also great too. I love the way that he goes from being the tough griff bad cop to the good cop with the Scottish, with kind of a little bit of a accent to him, just like, "Hey buddy, would you like a glass of water?" And it's like, and then bad cop comes around, and it's just like, "Too bad." This is just pushes the cop out of the way. Liam Neeson's hilarious in this movie, and Will Ferrell is just so good as Lord Business. I mean, you also have a number of different notable names in this, playing these different characters. You got Jonah Hill's Green Lantern, Channing Tatum as Superman, Kobe Smulders as Wonder Woman, Will Forte as Abraham Lincoln, Shaquille O'Neal as Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian. I mean, not just the fact that they have all these characters, but they also have characters that you don't expect to see, like Milhouse from The Simpsons is in here. Why? Because he's apparently one of the hierarchies at the building in that scene there from the trailer. But I mean, just so many different weird cameos in this, but yet it works so well. The animation is incredible, mixing both computer animation and practical stop motion animation, and even some practical animation too. It's really some of the best animation I've seen in a long time, and in 3D, it looks incredible. But where it gets really good is the third act of the movie, and if you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm going to spoil it, but you should have seen this movie by now. It's been 12 years, for God's sakes, but that moment when Emmett falls into what is supposedly the end of the world, and it basically is, you find out this whole story is being taken place in the basement of a live-action boy named Finn, and his father's Lego set, the father revealing to be the man upstairs, who looks exactly like Lord Business. He chastises his son for ruining the set by creating hodgepodges of different playsets, and proceeds to permanently glue his perceived perfect creations together. And, this is basically leading into what's happening in the Lego world where, where the whole world's going to get destroyed. And, it's this big action sequence overall. And you think it's going to go down the typical kids movie route. But then it takes a radical turn overall. And what it really does at the end of this really is amazing. Like, realizing the danger that his friends are in, Emmett's willing to have himself to move and gain Finn's attention and returning him to the piece of resistance to the set. And Emmett now possesses the power of a master builder, confronts business, and while this is all going on, Finn's father looks at his son's creation and realizes that Finn has based the villainous business on himself. And through a speech that Emmett gives business, Finn basically tells his father that he is special and has the power to change everything. And so Finn kind of reconciles with his son, and, it plays out very, very well. Business has a change of heart. Emmett basically tells him, you don't have to be the bad guy, and essentially it kind of is the thing that saves the movie in general, and this is what makes this movie go from great to perfect. It's very reminiscent of another movie produced by Warner Brothers and Animal Logic, who's one of the main animation companies on this, Happy Feet. Happy Feet starts off with this silly little movie about penguins dancing around, but then you get to the third act, and Mumbo finds the mystic beings he's been looking for, and it gets put into a penguin exhibit, and basically he starts to succumb to madness until this little girl manages to connect with him and thus leads him back home to prompt worldwide debate on overfishing. Like, that scene in Happy Feet is very similar to what happens here. They seem out of place, but they teach you lessons about life in general. In Happy Feet, it was about overfishing in Antarctica, but in here, it's about not forcing creativity out by separating everything, and also appreciating the creative things that you can see from Legos while in the real world. The dad appreciates his son's creativity and decides to stop gluing them all together. This movie is such a great love letter to the Lego name, and it's just not only that, it's just really good. It's very funny, it's clever, the animation is beautiful to look at, the voice casting is great, it has one of the best twists ever because it pays off nicely. Like, Phil Lord and Chris Miller really are one of the best directing duos we have working right now. I mean, they have made one good movie after another, and they show that they care about the projects they work on. They realize that there's something great that can be done with it, it's worth making a movie out of. Case in point, what they've done with the Spider-Man films, too. I mean, this not only was my favorite film of 2014, not only was it one of the best animated movies I've ever seen, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It had just been knocked out by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as my 30th favorite movie of all time. That's how much I love this movie so much, and I was just as pissed off as everybody else when that movie did not get nominated for a Best Animated Feature Oscar. It's just like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Like, really? That movie is the one you're gonna push off to the side? The most acclaimed movie of the year. The movie that basically relaunched Warner Brothers Animation to where it is today. And was a massive hit too, and yet you're gonna pretend like, oh, it came out 15 years ago, so no, you're not getting a nomination. It's a problem of two things with the Oscars. One, back then they didn't nominate movies that came out before April because that was something that was a common thread for them back in the day. But on top of that, it's a brand movie, and very rarely do the Oscars give brand movies the proper respect. I mean, they did it with the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and a couple of other movies, but it's a rare commodity for a branded film, a film with a name brand with it, to get a nomination for a specific significant picture or Best Animated Feature award. It's why the Simpsons movie wasn't nominated for Best Animated Feature, for God's sakes. It was one of the most highly acclaimed movies released that year, and that movie doesn't get a nomination. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's just... yeah, it was one of the many problems that the Oscars had back then, but they have sort of come back around to it. Sort of. I mean, it's still kind of there once in a while, but yeah, back then it was very, very prevalent there. But regardless of what the Oscars think, the Lego Movie is a cinematic achievement, man. This is about as great of a movie as you could possibly imagine. What more do I gotta say about this film that has already been said? The Lego Movie is fantastic. It's well done. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. No question about it. We happy now? Good, because we're about to piss you off now. Here's our next movie, The Monuments Men.
Based on the untold true story, we have been tasked to find treasure that the Nazis have stolen. On February 7th, 8 unlikely heroes.
We're going to need your knowledge and your skill.
Held the key to unlocking the secret.
Stealing the art and hiding it.
To save the world's greatest treasures.
We gotta go!
If Germany falls, they're to destroy everything.
It's there. Come on, give me a hand!
We have some unfinished business.
The Monuments Men. In theaters February 7th.
Okay, pissed off might be a little bit much, but Monuments Men is still very much a disappointment, especially with the cast that you just saw in there, and the fact that it's directed by George Clooney. You expect so much more from it, and it didn't deliver. This is based off of a book called The Monuments Men, Allied Heroes, Nazi Thieves, and the Greatest Treasure Hunt in History, and follows an allied group from the Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives program that is given the task of finding and saving pieces of art and other culturally important items before Nazis destroy or steal them during World War II. So basically, have you ever seen that episode of The Simpsons where Grandpa and Mr. Burns were were basically stealing all these artifacts, and back when they were in the war, and they've had this battle going forward for whoever dies, they get all the stuff there. Imagine that, except it's made by George Clooney and features a cast that includes Matt Damon, Bill Murray, John Goodman, John Dujardin, Bob Balaban, Hugh Bonneville, Cate Blanchett. That alone should have made this movie great, but no, this one was a major, major letdown. And George Clooney has made a lot of really good movies as a director. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind's a great movie. Good Night and Good Luck, one of his greatest achievements. Leatherheads, The Ides of March, all really good movies, but yeah, this one was definitely a really bland and forgettable movie. It's got a good heart to it. The cast does a good job with the material given to it, but the biggest problem is it's trying to do a World War II movie mixed in with an Oceans movie, and you can't really do that with a film like this, unfortunately. You really can't do that, and it has good intentions. There's nothing offensive about it, but with a cast this good, and a director and a writer as and includes George Clooney, you expect so much better from it. It's like the script really was on autopilot. You could predict everything that was going to happen. You could predict how the ending was going to go. There was nothing about this movie that makes it worth it in the end. It was just so bland, forgettable, and while I still kind of enjoyed it, it's hard for me to really recommend it, honestly. Like, it's a very mediocre film overall, and the cast is good, should not be mediocre in a film like this, especially with a guy like George Clooney, who had been near pitch perfect in terms of the director's chair, but something happened with him after this movie, because his directing career after that got pretty lousy after that, because he followed it up with Suburbicon, which was not that great, The Midnight Sky, which wasn't all that good, neither was The Tender Bar, nor was The Boys in the Boat was actually not that bad. I saw that one, and I thought that was alright, but yeah, there was a stretch where he made some really, really bad films, and it started with this one right here, so yeah, a major, major disappointment overall in The Monuments Men. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is Vampire Academy.
Friendless is a royal member of an ancient race. I'm a guardian.
Your life mission is protect Lasso.
Did you have to help him? You're welcome. And this is Vampire Academy.
In this school, every vampire needs a guardian.
Oh no.
Because a new breed live in a world with the boogeyman on the hill is out for blood.
There's a bigger threat still out there.
I can't remember who loves us and who hates us. Let's make tonight our bitch.
If that trailer cut off there just before it ended, was mostly because I accidentally hit the stop button on there, but I'm not going to rewatch that trailer again, because really, do I need to do this? This is another one of those movies where it feels like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer and I think it's Patty, Moe, and Bart, and Neil Gaiman and Principal Skinner decide to write their own fantasy book, and basically like a Twilight or a Harry Potter book in general, and try to make money off of it, and also have a subplot where Lisa's trying to write a book of her own, and she can't do it, and then when she finds out that a dog wrote a book before she does, she finally just decides to just go ahead and work with Homer and them, and write the most generic ass teen book ever. That's what Vampire Academy feels like. I mean, good lord, this thing feels like that ripoff from The Simpsons. I mean, that episode feels like this was the movie based off that book they wrote. I mean, it's that kind of a movie. It features an ensemble cast led by Zoe Deutsch as Rose Hathaway, a Dimfer, and Lucy Fye as Lisa Dragomir, her Morai best friend, and follows their return to St. Vladimir's Academy boarding school after being on the run for a year. This is another movie like The Monuments Men, where you'd think there'd be potential to, with a film directed by Mark Waters, who gave us Mean Girls and Just Like Heaven, and then Daniel Waters, who gave us, of course, Heathers, and of course this is Mark and Daniel are brothers, so they've worked on good stuff before, but man, this thing was just a massive, massive misfire, and yeah, it shows that it's literally a movie that the Weinstein Company was trying so hard to make the next Twilight and Hunger Games, and it just didn't work. It is so badly put together. It is so lazy. The only person who comes out of this relatively unscathed, well, two people come out of this, I think, relatively unscathed. Zoe Deutsch, who I think is doing the best she can to hold it together. And I kind of like Sarah Hyland in this. I've always liked her from Modern Family, and I always thought she was a pretty good actress, and she had some good moments in here overall. But other than that, though, yeah, this thing sucks. This is a really lazy movie. It really does feel like a knockoff straight out of The Simpsons. I mean, it literally feels like that episode overall. It just didn't work. It's a movie that is so badly put together. It's such a mess. It's a bad movie. Plain and simple, Vampire Academy. What more did you expect from the early part of the year?
So nasty. She's in your pictures. Come on, let me see.
Take a stop. All right, first picture's my...
Oh, God! This Valentine's Day.
This is Danny Martin.
Nice to meet you. It's about dating.
It's nothing but about last night. I'm gonna act like I didn't see you check Facebook for a friend request. What are you, a 13-year-old girl?
It's about friendship.
Are you seeing someone? Why? You just look like you need some relationship with.
It's about honesty.
I'm seeing a difference in you because of her. I'm like jealous? Really? Hell no. This is stupid.
It's about last night.
Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we're taking a look at the 4 films that make up February 14th, 2014. And we're starting off with the biggest and easily the best of the new releases this weekend, About Last Night, which is a remake, of course, of the 1986 movie, which was written by David Mamet. The same David Mamet that gave us that was behind The Untouchables, Glengarry Glen Ross, Hoffa, Wag the Dog. It's a very odd thing when you think about it, because it's about a stranger's finding out that John Grisham actually wrote the original book that gave us Christmas with the Cranks, of all things, which is funny because that movie was also was based off of a book called Surviving Christmas, which in and of itself was made into a shitty 2000s Christmas movie. But of course, the original starred Rob Lowe and Demi Moore and Jim Belushi and Elizabeth Perkins. This time around, it's the same thing as the original film, except modernized, with 2 couples, Michael Ealy and Joy Bryant, and Kevin Hart and Regina Hall, as they journey from the bar to the bedroom and are eventually put to the test in the real world. This time around, it's of course Eli and Brian in the roles that Rob Lowe and Demi Moore played. Jim Belushi and Elizabeth Perkins in the original are played now by Kevin Hart and Regina Hall. So, what is the film any good? And yeah, it actually, not only is it good, it's really good. I mean, this is a movie that's unlike that Awkward Moment, the film we looked at a couple weeks ago. That movie needs to take some lessons on how to make a good romantic comedy and not insult their audience, because this movie does that and then some. This was a good, funny, solid romantic comedy that didn't sugarcoat the facts about what it's like to be in a relationship like some other pieces of shit did. Okay, I'll stop talking about that Awkward Moment and move on to this, but About Last Night is nowhere near as bad as that movie is, but it delivers the hard truth of what it's like to be in a relationship and knows how you need to know when it's the right direction to do something in it to keep it going. This really does what a good romantic comedy should do. Make us care about the couples that are the main focus, not resort to stupid cliches for the most part, and provide us with a satisfying story that we can relate to as the audience and these couples, while again, not insulting our intelligence, like certain other movies I'm going to stop talking about. Kevin Hart and Regina Hall are just excellent in this. They're funny as hell. They let their comedic chemistry work very well. And again, another really good movie that shows Kevin Hart of what he's capable of doing in here. And Regina Hall is really good too. I love the fact that they're so good together in this. Like, they're funny, they have a lot of good chemistry. I mean, this is just a great, great performance by both of these guys and both of these people, and they work off each other very well. You do also believe Michael Ealy and Joy Bryan as the straight couple in this. They really do work very well with their characters. You buy their chemistry, and you really do understand all the problems they're going through throughout the course of the film. Every single person who's been in a relationship or has had these events happen can relate to the problems that this couple goes through in this film. Which, of course, leads to a couple of little flaws here and there that make it far from perfect. There's a scene in the movie where Joy Bryan takes a pregnancy test, and Michael Ealy asks her if she's pregnant, she says no, and it's never brought up again in the movie. So what was the point of bringing that pregnancy test up if there's going to be no purpose to it whatsoever? It just feels like they threw that in there. And the movie makes it think this is a remake of About Last Night. There's a scene in the movie that mirrors the scene from the original where Rob Lowe and Demi Moore are naked in the bathtub, which, yeah, it's there in this movie. But the part that bothers me with the scene that follows is that they're naked eating Chinese food and watching a movie. And what's the movie? The original About Last Night. And it's just like, wait, what? Like, it's pretty much the equivalent of having the Double Dragon arcade game in the Double Dragon movie. I mean, it makes no sense, and the joke, the style joke it made so well is that the whole movie's world should have just imploded because it makes no sense whatsoever to have the original source material in the movie, and he's absolutely right. What sense does that make? But then again, you can also make the same argument for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where characters are watching a John Hughes movie that's features that she's having a baby with Kevin Bacon, and even though Kevin Bacon's character is in that movie, and supposedly he's supposed to be that character from she's having a baby in Planes and Trains and Automobiles, but I'm just going off on a tangent here, but that one point that really bothered me the most about this is that when Michael Ealy has had his moment where he fucks up, and honestly, it's another example of somebody getting fired or breaking up with somebody when it's not the worst thing they've done in this movie. I'm sorry, him shouting out to people and continually getting drunk is something that is not something you break up with somebody over. I mean, yes, we have our moments where a couple has their misunderstanding and split up and go their separate ways, but come on. This has to be the laziest excuse to break up with somebody ever. I mean, there's a scene earlier in the movie where Ealy's Kim Kardashian ex-wife, played by Paula Patton of all people, shows up and sets itself up to be that moment, but nothing ever comes of it. She's never mentioned again, and there has to be a better way to break the couple up so we can get to our third act other than that. And going back to some of the positives in here, I do like this. I do like some of the other performances in here. Brooklyn Nine-Nine's Joe Latrulio, Christopher McDonald's very good in here. The final scene is one of those movies that has an unfinished scene, which, as I said before, with the history of violence and in that awkward moment, I can't stand this in this movie. It's laziness to end the movie without wrapping the story and have the audience think that for themselves, and it's a lame excuse to wrap your film up, but to this film's credit, though, there actually is a point to it. I'm actually reminded of The Breakup, which is not a good movie, but I think of that scene. I think of this scene because both scenes in the way that the breakup ends and this movie ends are very similar to one another. They show the couple talking like normal people, trying to start over, and the film ends on a promising note. And honestly, if you're gonna end a film like that, I'm more than fine with that. Unlike I keep bringing this movie up, I'm sorry, I can't. I hate that awkward moment so much. You hate Zac Efron's character in this movie because so much of him is that there's no reason why this movie should end on a promising note, because these two polar opposites should not be together in that movie. They share nothing in common. There's no excuse whatsoever for these two to still be together, and yet this movie has to do that because it's just the way to go and all that. No, not at all. Okay, last time I'm going to bring up that awkward moment in this, because, yeah, that movie's fucking terrible. But this film, however, is not only a good comedy, but it is indeed one of the best remakes you can ever see in a movie that really did not need to be remade, but it's certainly a hell of a lot better than a lot of remakes and reboots we've gotten over the last couple of decades. I mean, this takes the source material, which wasn't really all that memorable to begin with, and contemporizes it but not reducing it to cheap lows like some of the other remakes we're going to get to here this weekend, because, yeah, these other remakes are so fucking awful. And this one is just like a breath of fresh air. This doesn't sugarcoat the facts about relationships. They are hard, but you know what? You gotta deal with it. The cast is great. You care about the couples that are involved in here. The jokes are funny. The story is great. Steve Pink really does a good job modifying the story to modern times. It's a great romantic comedy. I can't recommend this one enough. About Last Night is terrific, So with all that said, let's get to the other reboots that came out this weekend, and the ones that are absolutely god-awful. Let's start off with the PG-13 rated RoboCop.
You can save him. What kind of life will he have?
You'll have your husband back, I promise.
This is the future of American justice. RoboCop is here.
Alex, I know you're in there.
What the hell did you do to me?
The human element will always be present.
He's overriding the system's priority.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me. RoboCop, rated PG-13.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me. I mean, can you see some of the problems with this movie right from the get-go? RoboCop is a remake of the 1987 Paul Verhoeven classic, this time set in the year 2028, which is only 2 years from now, so let's get this going, people. Let's get these cyborg police officers out there. Instead of having all these ICE agents going to these places and trying to detain people that are clearly legal, but that's a whole other thing altogether. But set in 2028, a detective becomes critically injured and is turned into a cyborg police officer whose programming blurs the line between man and machine, with the man this time around being played by Joel Kinnaman. And if you don't know who this person is, he and Burrell Enos have one thing in common. They are bland actors from one of AMC's worst shows, The Killing. I'm sorry, I hate these actors so much. They're probably nice people, but these two just fucking suck as actors in here. And to have him step into a role played very well by Peter Weller in the original, that's just bad right from the get-go. But on top of that, let's start with the obvious. The PG-13 rating on this. Now, as I've said before, there are times when the PG-13 rating can work on an R-rated, on a PG-13 remake of an R-rated film. The Longest Yard is one of those great examples of that, the Adam Sandler one. So many other ones I can mention here, but I'm sorry, making this PG-13 completely devoid of everything that made the original RoboCop special. And basically, it's just a studio looking at this and saying, kids love this, let's get the families in here. And no, that already hurts the movie because it just feels so forced and uninspired and uninventive and just not fun at all. With a big cast around this film, Michael Keaton, Gary Oldman, Samuel L. Jackson, Jackie Earle Haley, Michael K. Williams, Jennifer Ely, Jay Baruchel, Abby Cornish. I mean, there's a lot of good talent in this movie, but no, they're surrounded by this plank of wood of an actor that makes Henry Cavill look better by comparison. I mean, this guy sucks. This guy is a terrible actor. I never liked him on The Killing. I've never liked him in any movie he's in. He's just a terrible actor. He's unemotional, and he pales in comparison to Peter Weller. And I'm sorry, this hip stylist, this black stylist look on him does not work on this RoboCop at all. The gritty original gray RoboCop looks a hell of a lot better and actually looks cooler than anything from this pile of garbage. I mean, the action sequences are terrible. The story is a sloppy mess of a film. This movie is an abomination. I mean, this is a movie that makes the 2012 Total Recall remake look like a masterpiece by comparison. And that movie sucks even more. That movie sucks just as bad, if not worse. But no, this one I think is more of an insult to this film in general, because at least with Total Recall, I got what they were trying to do. They were trying to distance it from the original, and not everything about it worked. I'm sorry. Kate Beckinsale basically taking over the movie from a character from the original that was not the main focus of the film. But then again, that film, Kate Beckinsale's banging the fucking director, so that makes sense. That was at least trying to do something different. This one's not even trying. This is just a lazy attempt to reboot a franchise, and nobody was buying into it. It was a major flop when it came out. It was thrashed by critics. It was inferior to the original film. It's just a bad movie. It's just a terrible, terrible film. So how do we take a classic 80s movie and remake it for a new generation by making it bad? How about we do the same thing to a shitty 80s movie and somehow make it even more shittier? This is Endless Love.
Was everything all at once?
The kind of love you fight for.
Explosion!
I promise you the best days of your life.
You're very sure of yourself.
This is perfect, being here with you.
You have to trust me.
How?
I know I'm not good enough for you, but I'm going to spend my entire life proving that I am.
You know, we always talk about how people should stop remaking the good movies, remake the bad movies. Because, yeah, that's what you should be doing. Make bad movies better than the original film and make us forget about the god-awful movies, like the original Endless Love, which is a god-awful movie. It's a movie where you're literally supposed to get behind a guy who literally deflowers a young teenage girl with her mother watching from afar and not being shocked at all, just like she's so captivated by it. And then the same dude burns her house down and then kills her father, all because that he's obsessively in love with her. And the movie plays it off as charming and cute and happy when none of that should happen in this goddamn movie. And it became a massive hit. And yeah, it was around that same time when Brooke Shields was just in a movie, and basically everyone was trying to get her naked, even though she was way too young. And you know, sometimes they were doing this when she was underage too. So yeah, that's another bit of ewiness here. But even the writer of this book, Scott Spencer, hated that original film. So naturally, you know, he gets another chance to have one of his stories come to life and do it for a new generation of people. So, okay, now you have a chance to do what we've been asking for so many years. Remake a bad movie and make it better. Does this movie do that? Of course it fucking does it. It somehow makes it even worse. And that's hard to believe, but good Lord. It's just clear that this book should never have been made into a movie whatsoever. To the point that even Scott Spencer himself said that this movie somehow even more embarrassingly messed up his movie. Like, he said that it was about 100 pages, and the only ones that were not dreary were sciatica inducing. And in 2014, he wrote that his novel has been even more egregiously and ridiculously misunderstood in making the remake than in the 1981 film. How do you do that? Seriously, how do you do that with a film like this? I mean, good Lord. So in this one, you have Alex Pettyfer from I Am Number 4 in this, as a guy who has a crush on Jade, played by Gabrielle Wild from Carrie. And since the first time he saw her in the 10th grade, with high school coming to an end, David has never spoken to her until her family pulls up to the inn, where David works as a valet. She and David fall madly in love, and in a love that only grows stronger as parents try to tear them apart. David knows Jade's past, but as his secrets are slowly revealed, Jade's trust is tested and leaves them wondering if they're truly meant to be together. You know it's bad when the trailers for this don't even show you the stuff in the actual movie. No joke, the trailers they put out for this features none of the stuff that was in the fucking movie. And when that happens, you know you fucked up badly. You know you have seriously messed up. And yeah, this thing is just an ungodly mess of a movie that somehow makes the original look better by comparison. And that movie sucks too. This isn't made by a hack either. Shayna Festi directed this. She did Country Strong, which wasn't a great movie, but it certainly runs circles around this film in general here. At least that one was trying to do something, but this, oh my God. This is the literal definition of, we want our own Twilight movie, and it's just not here, man. Even the music is so badly put together here. You know, let's take the rockin' song of Robert Palmer's "Addicted to Love" and make it a soft, quiet song, because that's always the way that song has always been intended. It's like the Taylor Swift version of Santa Baby. It's just like, it's not meant to be sung as a goddamn country song. It's supposed to be sung as what Eartha Kitt made it out to be. Like, it's just, and Madonna too. It's just like, it makes no sense to do this type of stuff. Like, it's just such a god-awful movie, man. And again, it somehow makes this movie even more worse than the original film, and it's even less faithful to the source material. And it's just like, it's unbelievable how this thing continues to just be such a... It's just getting to the point where this thing should have never, ever have been made as a movie altogether. If they're going to screw this up not once, but twice, just don't even bother to make it, man. Like, this thing is just an abomination of a movie. It's one of the worst remakes you'll ever see in your life. It's just... yeah, it's pretty bad. So yeah, this is a very bad film overall, but let's see if we can turn the tide around with our last movie, Winter's Tale. Surely it won't be the same type of schmaltzy bullshit like Endless Love is.
Everywhere around us. You just have to look.
This Valentine's Day,
Make love to me now.
that's exactly what I'll do. Experience the movie critics are calling a wonderful, heartfelt surprise.
Find her, you gotta find him.
Winter's Tale is a sweeping romantic fantasy.
Nothing happens that it isn't supposed to.
Fall in love with the perfect date movie.
Can you hear your heart?
Stop it, or I'll melt all the snow I'm standing on.
Give me a chance and you'll melt all the snow in the world.
Winter's Tale, rated PG-13, starts Friday.
Better not use that for. I mean, my God, can you be any more schmaltzy than this film? I mean, Jesus Christ, that was rough to sit through. That's the commercial, by the way. This thing is so much worse than you could possibly imagine. This is based off of a book, and it centers around the story of New York City being subsumed in Arctic winds, dark nights, and white lights. Its life unfolds, for it is an extraordinary hive of the imagination, the greatest house ever built, and nothing exists that can check its vitality. One night in winter, Peter Lake, played by Colin Farrell, orphan and master mechanic, attempts to rob a fortress-like mansion on the Upper West Side. Though he thinks the house is empty, the daughter of the house is home. Thus begins the love between Peter, an Irish burglar in his early 20s, Colin Farrell in his early 20s in 2014. Yeah, you completely have lost this movie right from the get-go. And Beverly Penn, played by Jessica Brown Findlay, a young girl who is dying. I mean, come on! This is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life. And you know the worst part about it is the people that are involved in this movie. I mean, not only Colin Farrell, Jessica Brown Findlay, but Russell Crowe, Eva Marie Saint, William Hurt, Jennifer Connelly, Matt Bomer, Graham Greene, Kevin Durant, Finn Wittrock, Will Smith giving one of the most ridiculous visuals you'll ever see in your life. I mean, just look at this. Somebody looked at this and said, "That's good, man. Keep it up." But no, on top of that, this thing has been building around for so many years. I mean, Steven Spielberg bought the rights to it when the book came out in 1983, and then Warner Brothers tried to do one with Martin Scorsese, and then it became a passion project for Akiva Goldsman, who ended up directing the film. Of course, this is the same man that won Oscars for writing Time to Kill. You know, he wrote a beautiful, not for Time to Kill, but he wrote A Beautiful Mind. He wrote I, Robot. This is his first movie he's ever directed, and yeah, boy, what a way to start your directing career with a piece of garbage like this. I mean, this is one of the most one of the most forced movies you'll ever see in your life. A movie that's trying so hard to tug at your heartstrings and get these couples so hornied up, but it's failing on every single level. This thing is a mess of a movie, from the terrible visuals to scenes that are just so ridiculously awful. It's just such a sloppy mess of a film on so many levels. This is a bad film. This is a really, really awful movie. One of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. And again, it's more worth watching just for nightmarishly bad visuals like this. I mean, come on. Someone looked at this and said, "That's good, man. Keep it in the film." Just, I mean, wow. Just, Winter's Tale, man. Just wow. Wow, this is bad.
My job is to hunt terrorists.
The wolf is the most dangerous terrorist our country has ever faced. You've spent your whole career chasing the wolf. Now he has weapons-grade plutonium.
I'm gonna need a new suit. I don't negotiate. Within 3 days, I will find him. You can start counting.
3 days to kill, February 21st.
Good Lord, that dialogue was fucking awful. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody, and I know it's been a couple of days by the time you're watching this for the first time on this date, January 5th, but a couple things got in the way, mostly the Steeler game yesterday, and also a couple of other games that I was doing for the Sunday Night NFL rewatch, but we're back now. We're taking a look at the 3 films of February 21st, 2014. Really nothing worthy of doing an intro for this weekend in general, because our first movie is 3 Days to Kill, the latest film from McG, written by Luc Besson. Kevin Costner stars as a dangerous international spy dying of brain cancer who is determined to retire and rebuild his relationship with his estranged wife, Connie Nielsen, and daughter, Haley Steinfeld. Offered an experimental drug that could save his life in exchange for completing one last job, he finds himself having to juggle his two toughest assignments yet, hunting down the world's most ruthless terrorist and looking after his daughter for the first time in 10 years while his wife is out of town. What kind of crazy comedic shenanigans are going to come from this? I mean, is this really necessary to have these two subplots in this movie here? I mean, not only is the reading of these lines so bad, the lines themselves feel like something coming out of ChatGPT or Copilot. And this was like 10 years before that became the norm. Yeah, this thing is not that good of a movie, man. It's a bad film. It's lazy. Kevin Costner's really sleepwalking through this role in general. Nobody in here is really trying in general. The villain isn't threatening. The scenario isn't that great. And just having the two subplots here, it's like a rip-off of Taken, which coincidentally was also produced by Luc Besson, having Luc Besson involved in it. No, he didn't write. I don't think he wrote that movie. It was Robert Mark Carmen, but you get the idea. It felt like they were trying to create the next Taken rip-off, and yeah. Needless to say, it didn't work very well here. So really, not much more I can add to this film already. 3 Days to Kill. Why don't you just go kill yourself instead of just watching this movie? But no, seriously, don't kill yourself out there, people. If you have suicidal thoughts, go see somebody for help. But I mean, I'm getting on a whole completely different subject here. Let's get to another disaster this weekend. A disaster movie. This is Pompeii.
Pompeii! Let the games begin! Slaves that live earn their freedom.
Only death is freedom for a gladiator. Can you feel that?
Shields up! We have to get to the harbor.
Whatever is happening here, perhaps the gods spare us for a reason. Pompeii, rated PG-13.
Thank you for putting the facts about what happened in Pompeii in the beginning, because we already know that what you're about to sell us is complete and utter bullshit. And I said yesterday that this was Roland Emmerich directing this. It was not, even though it looks like a Roland Emmerich ripoff. You know, how we looked at Taken as 3 Days to Kill as a 3 Days to Kill as a Taken ripoff. This feels like a ripoff of a Roland Emmerich movie. But no, this is our good friend Paul W.S. Anderson. And surprisingly enough, his wife is not involved in this movie. I guess he finally got the hint. But, still doesn't make this a good movie, though. It's a fictional tale inspired by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD to destroy Pompeii, a city of the Roman Empire. You've got Kit Harington, Carrie-Anne Moss, Emily Browning, Jessica Lucas, Jared Harris, Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah, it's pretty much a generic Roland Emmerich ripoff movie, and it's not even a good one, honestly. It's your typical Paul W.S. Anderson film where he's not going to give two shits about what he's actually doing on screen, and just knows he's getting a good paycheck from whoever's funding this movie in general. Because I think this is a Constantin Film, which I think is a German company, if I'm not mistaken, that's putting this together. Am I right? Yeah, it's a German film company, so the Germans are basically paying him the money for this, but, yeah, this film is not that great. It really is not. It's the typical movie you expect in the first 6 weeks of the year. A dumping ground movie, nothing significant, nothing amazing about it. Yeah, it just doesn't work overall. It's not intriguing, it's not exciting, it's not very enjoyable. It's not fun at all. But why bother to go see the two lazy live-action films when you can actually go see something of noteworthiness with our last film, Hayao Miyazaki's latest film, The Wind Rises.
And the story goes on.
From one of the most acclaimed directors of all time, Hayao Miyazaki's The Wind Rises, February 21st, rated PG-13.
Now, wouldn't you rather go see a movie like that than having to waste your money on two pieces of garbage like Pompeii and 3 Days to Kill? I certainly think you should. This was the film that was originally intended to be the last film directed by Hayao Miyazaki, but of course 10 years later he'd come back to direct The Boy and the Heron, which later ended up winning the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, so it worked out well for him. But this is based off of a manga of the same name, a fictionalized account of the life of Japanese aeronautica engineer Jiro Horikoshi. In particular, his engineering career from his time at the University of Tokyo in 1923 to his first test flight of the Mitsubishi Ka-14 on February 4th, 1935. This is a cast. The English dub of this includes notable names like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Emily Blunt, John Krasinski, Martin Short, Werner Herzog, William H. Macy, of all people, Zach Callison, Steven from Steven Universe, William H. Macy, Mae Whitman, Mandy Patinkin, Jennifer Grey, Stanley Tucci, Ronan Farrell, Darren Criss, Elijah Wood. I mean, solid cast in this movie in general here, and again, it's what you expect from a Miyazaki film. Beautiful animation, an engaging story between these people that you really do get invested in. Visuals are just absolutely gorgeous to look at, and really, you can never top a good 2D animated Hayao Miyazaki movie, and he delivers very well here. The film is gorgeous to look at. It's a very well done film. Maybe not one of his better movies in general, but this is definitely a film that's worth checking out, and easily the best of the 3 films we've covered on the show, no question about that. Not much more to say about it, man, except The Wind Rises is definitely a really, really good Studio Ghibli film. It's what you come to expect from them.
Hello? My daughter gave it to me.
You fly much?
All the time, actually. I'm the air marshal.
Do we have a situation?
A passenger has threatened to kill someone every 20 minutes, unless they're paid $150 million.
How do you kill someone in a crowded plane and get away with it?
This was never about the money. Something else is going on.
Don't stop. Rated PG-13.
Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 2 films that make up February 28, 2014, the last day of February, and no intro because this is just 2 movies in particular. One good, one... we'll talk about it, but our first movie that we have here is Non-Stop, and it's a movie that stars Liam Neeson as an air marshal sprung into action during a transatlantic flight after receiving a series of text messages that puts his fellow passengers at risk unless the airline transfers $150 million into an offshore account. So, as I've said before, I really did not like the last movie that Liam Neeson and the director of this, Jamie Collet-Serra, did together, which was Unknown. Mostly because it was an interesting plot that kind of fell into the predictable action movie route. It has a really bad twist involving January Jones, who, don't get me wrong, she was good early on in stuff like Mad Men and American Wedding, but yeah, around that time, she was really one of the worst actresses working in film, mostly because she has this feeling that whatever she stars in, she's got to be the person that's got to be the center stage of it. Look at X-Men First Class for the prime example of that, but no, all this aside, I mean, what did I think of this movie? Because, like Unknown, it has kind of an interesting plot. It kind of feels like but it does also kind of feel like Passenger 57 all over again. And I was not a fan of Passenger 57 when I saw that for the first time. But the movie doesn't steer into that kind of territory, though. This was the movie that I was kind of hoping Unknown would be. It's a fun, solid, slick, intense action adventure film with Liam Neeson, who might as well be the current big action hero star at the time. I mean, he was having a good month with this and also the Lego Movie, but because almost every action he's started has been at least somewhat good. I mean, like I said, Unknown, Taken 2, a couple of the exceptions of ones that are not so great. This one is definitely one of his stronger ones. Neeson's giving a really earnest performance, and he works well with the material given to him. And a good cast involved in here with Julianne Moore, Michelle Dockery, Linus Roach, and Lupita Nyong'o, who only gets a few lines to work with here. But, most people saw her around that time known for her work with 12 Years a Slave, which ended up winning her the Oscar this very same weekend. But the script really did kind of surprise me, and thankfully, there was something that happened in this trailer that I thought to myself, oh, well, okay, this woman's obviously going to be part of the hijacking overall, because you see her kicking ass at somebody like that. And I was thankful that they didn't do that. It turns out she wasn't, and I actually thought her performance in this was really one of the strongest things about the movie. Simply and effectively going by the fact that you can't judge a movie, like, we can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge a movie simply by its trailer. And as I said, the script really does surprise because it has all the tropes we see in these type of action films, and it puts in good characters that we can relate to and want to root for and or hate. Although I will say the biggest flaw of the movie that I do have is that when they finally catch the guys responsible for the hijacking and are using Neeson's character, it's a really lame reasoning for why they're doing this, and it just feels like a cheap ploy to throw in the early ways of airport security before 9/11. I mean, basically, basically, it was essentially, you remember how before September 11th you can go into a terminal and not have to worry about, going through TSA and just go to, like, the air mall and all that type of stuff. I mean, we have that here in Pittsburgh, but supposedly you could do that nowadays. I mean, there was a long period. That's what I've heard, but I haven't been up to it. I haven't been up to the airport except to go somewhere, like to Florida. But that's about it. I mean, I've never gone back up there to go like the shops and all that inside the terminal, because I always thought you had to get onto a flight to go down there. But then again, who knows? Maybe that changes all. Maybe that's changed overall. I haven't had to test it out yet, but maybe one day I'll do it. But the final 10 minutes when Liam Neeson literally shoots the terrorist in mid-air and the plane crashes is actually a ton of fun to watch. Like, I don't care if it is CG and doesn't compare to the crash in Flight or even the crash in Knowing, which Knowing is a terrible movie, but goddamn, that crash in that movie is so damn good. It's a cool-looking action sequence as the plane crashes. It's preposterous, but I love the ever-loving shit out of it. And that's exactly what this movie is, really. It's a good, solid, fun time at the movies. It's not an overall classic. Certainly does not rank up there with the best action movies of all time, but it's just a good, fun time overall. Good performances, a great plot, decent pacing, some pretty impressive visual effects. If only the bad guys' motivations made more sense than the explanation they give, I think this would be a perfectly put-together film in general. But as it stands, it's a good fun time overall, and definitely one of my favorite Liam Neeson post-Taken action movies in general. I mean, this isn't up there with The Grey or even the first Taken movies, but it certainly kicks the crap out of the Taken sequels or some of the really lackluster films he's done recently with Briarcliff Entertainment. But hey, last year he came back with The Naked Gun, one of the best movies of last year. So, all in all, it's a win-win in my book. So let's go ahead and move on to that other movie I was talking about here, which isn't really a movie, more like a Cliff Note version of something that was already on TV beforehand. Let's talk about The Son of God.
Do you need help? There's nothing to help with.
What you doing?
Going fishing.
I'm telling you, there's no fish out there.
How did this happen?
Come with me.
What are we gonna do?
Change the world.
We're gonna make people's $7.50 disappear. I mean, that's literally what this movie kind of is in general here, but this is a film that is the retelling of the life of Jesus Christ, and it's essentially an adaptation of a miniseries that had come out the year before, The Bible, which was on the History Channel, which ended up becoming a massive success, and eventually led into another series called AD The Bible Continues, which actually aired on NBC around this time period. But yeah, let's talk about the production of this movie in general here, because it's being sold as its own movie in general, but it really isn't. It's basically a Cliff Notes cut down version of that miniseries in general, and it really does feel like, in general that the whole thing really does feel. It feels like it was made because something was successful and everyone wanted to come on in and try to cash in on that success in general, specifically 20th Century Fox, who own the rights to the Bible miniseries. And this thing literally does feature scenes from the miniseries as well as footage that's not put in, so that's their kind of argument here. So it's basically kind of like the equivalent of one of those old school classic, those movies from the 1980s where they say it's a feature film, but it's not really. It's just basically classic cartoons mixed in with some slightly new footage, like the Looney Tunes films, the Looney Bugs Bunny movie, or stuff like Mighty Mouse, or even Heathcliff the movie. Like, movies that promote themselves as kind of like a new movie, but they're really not. They're just stuff that's taken from a specific something else in particular, and just put together to form somewhat of a narrative here. I mean, that is kind of what this thing kind of is in general here. But yeah, it's not bad per se. I mean, it isn't the worst thing you could possibly see in general, and certainly for a Christian-based movie, it's by far the lesser of the bad movies in general. But other than that, though, there's really no reason to make a film like this and try to make it a success overall, except for making a quick cash grab here. And that really is what we have here. A movie that was basically just a Cliff Notes version of something that had already just come out. And people bought into it. It was a massive success when it came out and led into this TV series that was coming out beforehand. But yeah, like I said, it's not bad. It's got a nice visual look to it. Cinematography-wise, it's great. The mood of it's actually very interesting. And the acting overall is good overall, but it's one that I personally would never want to watch again over and over. Like, if I want to watch this in general here, I'll just watch the Bible miniseries or AD The Bible Continues, because really, you could watch all those and not this, and you would never even know that this thing even existed. It basically has no purpose to what is inevitably in either the miniseries that follows this or the miniseries before it. So yeah, take that for what you will, but that's my thoughts specifically on Son of God.